What is going on, everybody? RogersBase here. Hello and welcome to my first One Piece manga chapter live reaction of 2026. I hope you all had a happy new year. I hope you've had a lovely first few days of the year. I have had a lot of issues, as you know, if you are listening to this live on Twitch. I actually got locked out of my YouTube channel the second that I landed back in LA. My YouTube account thought that I was getting hacked because of all the security settings that I set up before. But the nice thing, as I mentioned at the end of last year, is now my One Piece live reactions are also available on podcast platforms. So, not only can you still watch this reaction on Twitch, not only is this getting uploaded to my second channel over at the RogersBase Vault, but you can also listen to me and potentially even see me, depending on whether or not it allows me to upload with video, on all the podcast platforms of your choice. So Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Audible, we're everywhere. We are chilling. And without any further ado, because I managed to mostly remain unspoiled, I got spoiled on one thing, I'll talk about it when we get to that point of the chapter reaction. But without further ado, let's get into my live reaction to One Piece manga chapter 1170. This one is titled Contrary, and we're looking at the front page, and it's Jinbei looking like he's dressed up like a train conductor. It says here, Jinbei's a station worker. Okay. Oh, close enough. It says he's a station worker for the Eel Railroad, giving passengers eel bentos for lunch by 420 Land. How that got approved by Shueisha that the name 420 Land was allowed to have an image in here, but this is super cute. I actually love this. And fun fact, when I was in Japan last year, my favorite bento box to get were the unagi bento boxes. I love a good eel bento. So this is great. I'm happy to see the Straw Hats having a good time as well. This is awesome. You got Luffy down there with 5-6 on his shirt eating it. You got Robin, little child Zoro and Sanji button heads. You got Usopp looking up at the giant eel with 10 on his head. Very, 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 very cute. And then Chopper down in the little corner as well. Nami super short with her little backpack too. This is very cute. Well, Jinbei, I wish you had an eel bento for me, but unfortunately, I have a manga chapter to react to. So here we go, 1170. Contrary, picking up where we left off with the last chapter, we got the hammer flying at Loki, Loki falling down to the ground in the treasure room, and you got Loki screaming, "Bastard! Who threw this hammer at me? Come out and show yourself." This is also wild that this is happening while Harold is in the other room getting, taken over by Emu, taking out all the guards. This is still crazy that this is going off on the side. I know they're in here, but I might as well get that devil fruit now. And you can see the crack of the door opening and the treasure chest down there. Hope that's not a mimic. And you hear crack, 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 progressively getting bigger coming off of the hammer. And Loki looking back. You got to be kidding me. There's no way that it's that heavy and it's just like sinking into the ground. Is the castle falling apart or something? So Loki's going to grab the other one and then oof, falls down to the ground. Oh, and we're already hopping back to Harold. Okay. You waste your time, Loki. That devil fruit is a national treasure. It has lain dormant for centuries. Not because no one chose to eat it, but because no one could. Okay, this is getting hype. This is good. Not a single one of them was chosen by Ragnar. So you've got Harold giving this speech while all these other guys are trying to stab him. You can see two of the other guards there standing with their little spears and the hammer just crackling on the ground with thwomp and womp sound effects as you've got Loki running in the other direction. But with the strength I now possess, you got to get it before he does. Go get it. And you can see what's happening. Oh, Scopper! Scopper and Shanks managing, to slice Harold. Very good. You can see the Conqueror's hockey emanating off of it. He suffers immense pain from his wounds, and the recovery effect is drastically slowed down. Okay. Also, what is the face that Shanks is making on that page? He's got this weird look on his face with that frown. And I also don't even know why he chose to draw Gaban like that on that panel as well, too. Both of them look kind of goofy on page 5. But we have Gaban saying, "Give him enough consecutive hits and we can manage to knock him out of commission. If these guys have any weakness, it's against those of us who can infuse our attacks with the color of supreme hockey." You got him looking down screaming, "Gaban? Okay. Do you really dare make an enemy out of me?" As he's slamming the axe on down. And Gaban's leaping out of there. "Of course I do. I can't let you roam free in this state of madness. Oh, okay, interesting. And now Shanks jumping back to the conversation with the Knights of God, saying, how do you know the weakness of the Knights of God, Gaban? They came after us several times, trying to take you back. Oh, and then we get a little flashback down here. Oh, of the Roger pirates here, and we know you have a child with red hair. He must be the son of our commander. Hand the boy over. Each time they tried, we beat them black and blue. That's my guy, Gaban. I mean, he did say in the previous chapter that he considered Shanks a son. So this is very nice. They protected Shanks all this time, and that explains how he knows how to beat him. You know, now that you mention it, I seem to remember that Summers guy saying something like that as well. Just some fond memories of the distant past. So again, this conversation's continuing between Shanks and Gaban. I was surprised to learn that there was a proper combat force in the Holy Land. I assumed those celestial dragons were all chumps. And then you got Shanks responding to him saying, they hardly ever come down to our world. They really believe they're gods. It makes me shiver to think of the life I might have had. And meanwhile, Gaban, smiling with his sunglasses on, says, we call that fate. As Harold picks up the weapon again, slams down on them. I want to save Harold somehow, Gaban. Now, unfortunately, we already know this is not going to happen. We already know Harold dies today. So whatever Shanks is going to try to tell Gaban, it is what it is. We know how this story ends. But I want to see what they're cooking up. And then Gaban responds back to Shanks, but you are the one who taught me about the despair of what it means to become a Knight of God. It really does seem like Loki is our only hope. Okay, meanwhile, we're jumping back and Loki's having an issue with this flying talking hammer. I keep telling you to get out of my way, stupid hammer. You can see it wheezing. Does this mean you're supposed to be the guardian of the national treasure? I mean, how the heck does a hammer move on its own? What's your deal anyway? Now, clearly this is going to be a devil fruit, no doubt about it. Just give it a good, and you can see him winding up his hammer, Mario baseball style, and slamming directly into Ragnar. Now, it broke, unfortunately, Loki's hammer, but you can see Ragnar falling. Okay, now this is, okay, see, this is what I saw. Remember when I said early, during this live stream, I said that I saw one thing? I got spoiled on one thing in this chapter. This is what I saw. I didn't know what this was. But that is exactly what I saw. I saw this dumb little squirrel with dizzy eyes. And meanwhile, it looks like he landed a good hit on the hammer, which is pretty good considering the fact Harold said that many people tried to get him, but they couldn't get him in the past. He managed to land a good bonk right on his head, and wham, you get the little welt on the poor little squirrel's head. As the little squirrel with snot dripping out of his nose, his little buck teeth, and his little hammer head. starts crying a little bit. Now we're jumping back from this. I want to see more of what's going on with the squirrel, but we're jumping back now into the fight with Harold. So we're getting a good panel of Harold slicing over at Shanks and over at Gaban, saying, be gone. Okay, how do we end this fight? He's got Supreme King Hockey too. That's a first. Guards, find some way to hold Harold back. And now Jarl is messed up. Whoa. Hold on. Whoa. What is going on here? I turned the page, and there's very little text on pages 10 and 11. I'm going to read the text that's on the top right, and then I'm just going to describe what I'm looking at. All right, on the top of page 10, Jarl's laying on the ground, still bloodied up from the previous chapter. Guards, find some way to hold Harold back. You must not let Harold have that devil fruit. Okay, and you get all the different sound effects rumbling out of the castle. Kadoom and zoom and rah screams. Everything's lit on fire. Harold is eviscerating these other guards. He's standing there with his axe. So, wow, so we're not even... Does the squirrel not talk then? He just is literally a squirrel? We get a shot. What am I looking at? Okay. What in the... Okay, we got a little squirrel. We got, assuming Ragnar. That's Ragnar. Ragnar in squirrel form, without any other words, opening up the treasure chest. We get a shot of the devil fruit, okay, which looks tiny within Loki's hands, because obviously Loki is a giant. You get Loki chomping down the devil fruit, And on one page, this is all done in little vignettes. In one page, you see Loki growing out like claws or something. Okay, are we looking at a Fenrir devil fruit? Is that what we're seeing? That would be awesome. We've been talking about it. The whole Brothers of Elbaf thing and Fenrir and the sun and the moon and all that Norse mythology. That would be pretty neat if that's what we're looking at. To be fair, looking at this panel with all the silhouettes, it doesn't quite look like anything right now. This could be any number of things. It seems like it has spiky hair and it seems like it's got a claw. And then you hear, wow, as the sound effect of the roar. And you've got little Ragnar happy as can be that somebody finally is worthy of the devil fruit, jumping in the sky with little hearts. You get this goofy little squirrel. I love this. I love this. Okay. And then meanwhile, dun-dun, dun-dun, dun-dun. You got Loki already in his devil fruit form now, running towards Harold. Okay. So, you ate it. Ooh, I love the framing of this on page 12 and 13. I love this. Everything is on fire in the throne room. The guards are taken out. We have possessed Harold looking back at Loki, saying, you ate it. Well, then show me that legendary power. I can already hear the music swelling when we get the anime rendition of this scene. Show me that legendary power. He is slicing down with the axe once again and the spear. You see him crashing down onto the ground. Loki flying. Oh, this is cool. This is cool. Harold flying backwards. You can see a part of his face is messed up. His arm is chunked out. Thwacking him in the face. Yo! Thudding and whatting and smacking and hitting him in the face. Chunks of Harold's head. Oh my goodness, man. This is wild. That we're seeing it from Loki's point of view here. Literally, we're seeing what he's seeing through his eyes. The whack of giving an uppercut to his dad. The wud of throwing his dad down on the ground. The crack as he knocks a chunk out of his dad's head. The silhouette, the shadow, whatever the heck we're looking at there, dude. Incredible. You could see the swirls of the silhouette coming up. You could see holding Harold in his claws. You could see one of the claws on the other side. You could still see he has a little bit. Oh, man. That is cool. That is cool. I don't know what's going on that shadow panel on the bottom of page 13, though. I have no idea what I'm looking at. That could be any number of things. I said Fenrir before. That could be a dragon. That could be Fenrir. I don't know what the heck. It almost looks like a horse in some ways too, with the way that the neck is curving and then the little horns, like some demon horse. That is really cool looking though. Wow. And then meanwhile, you can see Ragnar back in hammer form, in Loki's hands. Loki back in his normal form. He said, I don't even need to be in my devil fruit form for this. He said, I got Ragnar. I bonked him on the head. I'm worthy. So now technically he's got like 2 devil fruits. He's got a hammer that can move on its own with a squirrel devil fruit. He's got his legendary devil fruit of Elbaf. And as he swings the hammer back, and you can see the Conqueror's hockey emanating off of it, the zzz with lightning, you got Harold huffing and puffing. I knew it. Loki, you possess the blood of the Supreme King. Of course he does. What? Of course he does. It's Loki. Of course he's got Conqueror's hockey. Let's go. Are you back to your senses now? Okay, so that's good. Harold's having a moment of clarity after getting smacked down by his son's mythical devil fruit form. We're on page 14 right now. And Loki is saying, are you back to your senses now? And Harold, oh, this is going to be sad. You can see the snow falling down over the fire. Oh, no. Oh, I know already, this is going to be a touching scene. You've got Harold there, back to his senses, talking to Loki. I'm back, but only for the moment. Don't be mistaken. Look around us, for there is no undoing what I've already done. That's true, he killed a bunch of people. But you're being controlled, and Loki is crying with snot in his nose and everything. And Harold responds back, not exactly. I suspect that my very thoughts are being influenced by someone else. I'm beginning to think of myself as a god. I know that you will do an admirable job of pulling Elbaf in your wake. Just make sure you get along with your brother. Oh! Come on. And just so you know, you're the scum of the earth, and you got him screaming, oh, man. forcing your son to end your own life. I feel bad for Loki. Even the lowest excuse for a father wouldn't do that. And Loki, again, he knows what he has to do, but he doesn't know if he has the strength to do it. Harold responds back, there's one other thing I forgot to say, not even acknowledging what his son is saying, because he knows it's coming out of a place of sadness, coming out of a place of despair. And Harold says, there's one other thing I forgot to say. Thank you for what you did for Ida. He said, that was my guy, taking out the people that disrespecting her. Very good. But why? Burning down the Brewers village won't bring her back. But I'm grateful that you felt that way. And you get a shot of the crackling of the tattoo on Harold's arm, assuming that it's about to take control over. Again, you can even see him tapping his arm, saying it's about to take over. But at least he got this little final moment with his son. This is good. And again, he loved Ida. He loved Ida more than anything. He's just happy to know that Loki saw her as a mother too. That's great. Now, meanwhile, Loki, as he's charging up his hammer one last time, about to bash his dad's head in, saying, I'll never forgive you for this. How dare you force me to do this dirty work? You get the slam. Oh my gosh, what a sick panel, dude. What a sick panel, man. You get the conquerors emanating off of it. You got him holding this back. How dare you to force me to do your dirty work? And then finally, you get Harold looking at Loki. One final shot, dying, smiling, like all the good dads in One Piece do. Saying, I love you too, son. Knowing that that's the way that Loki expresses his love. And the crackle of the hammer hits, and you get this amazing panel on the bottom of page 15 of the castle in semi-silhouette, snow falling down, beautiful day for rain, lightning striking the castle. And that right there is the death of Harold. Wow! Page 16 and 17, beautiful double page spread. I hesitate to call it beautiful because we know what we're looking at right now. But really amazing use of lighting and shadow here with Loki picking up the hammer and just slamming it right now. Oh man, into Harold. And you could see the full evisceration of Harold there. Oh, his belt crackling through it. Like, how is this hockey even working? Obviously, we still need to fully understand how to utilize the Conqueror's hockey to take down these characters. But now we're seeing if it's strong enough, it could quite literally evaporate the characters if it's strong enough. And that panel of just Loki holding the hammer back, slamming into Harold, barely even touching him, and just eviscerating him. All that's left of is like his head and his one arm and part of his belt, with the rest of it crackling and lightning. Again, great use of black and white, great use of contrast on this panel. And we finally end this chapter with Loki crying and screaming, killing his father, but Harold in his final moments saying, Loki, my son, all that matters is Elbaf's future. And we cut to the children of Elbaf. We see Loki suffering in shadow amongst the snow. To be continued. One Piece manga chapter 1170 end. Very, 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 very good chapter to start the year. Wow. Great emotion. I guess let's just hop right into my review. I love the art in this chapter. I feel like I'll talk about pretty frequently when I say I really like Oda's art. But this in particular, the way he utilized lighting in this scene, the way that he shot this, like even the way that I'm saying he shot this, you can't see me if you're listening to the audio version, I'm doing quotes right now. Obviously, he's drawing this on a page. But the drawings basically look like a storyboard for a movie in this chapter. From the fight with Ragnar in the very beginning, to the stuff with Harold, to the shot of him like utilizing his devil fruit for the first time, cutting to first-person POV fighting Harold, the cinematic shot of 14 and 15 of those final moments before the hit, the shot of the lightning coming down, and then that final moment on 16 and 17 of the crackle of the Conqueror's hockey and the evisceration of Harold. This chapter, like I said, was drawn like a storyboard for an anime episode or a film. This was extreme. The best way I could describe this chapter is cinematic. That is the best like adjective to describe this one this week. Just beautiful tableaus, really great use of action panels. Overall, just incredible. I think this is the first thing I'll say about this in regards to Ragnar being a squirrel. I love this because I don't know the name of the character off the top of my head. And again, it's early when I'm recording this, but I know there's that character in Norse mythology, and I literally only know this because of God of War. I believe the squirrel's name is Ratatasker. If I'm wrong, Ratatasker. Okay, I was right. My chat said it is Ratatasker. I was right. Fantastic. It's the character my buddy Sungwon voices. Shout out to Sungwon Show. But literally, I know that there's like the Norse squirrel. So that's clearly what Ragnar is being based on. But I love that he mixed the mythology of Ratatasker with the mythology of Ragnar and the hammer and basically just made them both one. Oda's like, look, we don't have time to dive into all the different gods of Norse mythology. We don't have time to like put all this stuff together and dive into all these other characters. I don't want to introduce too many other characters. Let's just take this opportunity to make a cute little squirrel that's super strong that nobody else can grab the devil fruit from for all these years and turn him into a little mascot. You already know there will be plushies on store shelves within the year, probably in the months prior to the anime episode of this character with Ragnar merchandise. They are going to go hard with the Ragnar merchandise in Elbaf. You're probably going to have little plushies with the hammerhead on top of the squirrel. You're going to have him in his little squirrel form jumping. You're going to have buttons of him in the hammer form. You're going to have, images of Loki standing there with the little squirrel on his shoulder. I love the fact that he's got this little squirrel pet and that it's a good fighter on its own. The fact that it was mentioned specifically in this chapter. I want to find the exact line. I believe it was on, where is it? It's, I believe, on page 4, right? Where Harold is speaking, you waste your time, Loki. The devil fruit's a national treasure. It lay dormant for centuries, which is also a crazy thing to note, that this squirrel has been alive for centuries. Not because no one chose to eat it, but because no one could, for not a single one of them was chosen by Ragnar. Which means that Harold, in base form, before being powered up by Emu and the Abyss and the Order and all that stuff, before that, he wasn't able to land a hit on Ragnar. Loki, base form, pre-Devil Fruit, manages to land a hit on this thing and secure his place among history in Elbaf, and is granted with no dialogue whatsoever, no text, no nothing, granted the devil fruit by Ragnar, chosen by Ragnar. He's found worthy of Ragnar to actually have the devil fruit. I think that is awesome, because that once again justifies, just one, how strong Loki is in present day, and two, really what we are dealing with once the handcuffs fully come off and we all go back up together to take out Emu. Because I think realistically, Gunko Emu is probably stronger than Herald Emu. But Gunko Emu against fully souped up, Ragnar wielding, Conqueror's Haki emanating, mythical devil fruit form, legendary fruit of Elbaf form Loki, paired with Gear 5 Luffy, paired with Zoro, Sanji, and Haruden, we're chilling, man. Zoro, Sanji, Haruden, this version of Loki, and Gear 5 Luffy, these celestial dragons have no chance. These god knights have no chance. Elbaf, this is when Oda said in his Jump Festa statement at the beginning of the year, when he was, clapping his hands and dusting off his shoulders and saying, we're going to end this with a bang. This is what he's talking about. Because that's the type of power we're dealing with. Again, we are in the very end game levels of One Piece right now, right? We are in the final saga. This chapter perfectly proves what type of power level we're dealing with at the end of the series. Like, this is what we're dealing with in the regular overall characters are going to be part of the narrative. And this is tied with all the characters we already know are going to become important too. Once we, start throwing Shamrock and Garling and, everyone else, Dragon and the Revolutionaries and Sabo and Kobe, everyone else out of the mist. I got the little Kobe sneak in there, by the way. Once everyone else is thrown into the mix in Final War, we're going to have moments like this every single chapter. I think really the thing that kind of blew my mind was just hearing Harold say, we could have already made this assumption, but hearing it out of his mouth that for centuries people tried and not a single one was chosen by Ragnar. And Loki was able to do it like this. I mean, realistically, that wasn't even a struggle. That was barely a chapter. Because we got the little scene at the end of the last chapter with the hammer flying at him. We got a total of 4 pages total. 4 pages for Loki to do what it took the giants of Elbaf centuries to not even be able to land a hit on. That's incredible. Really, and it doesn't feel unearned. I think the way that he set up the stuff in Elbaf with Loki, the way we've been hyped up about this character, it doesn't feel unearned. I think it feels good to have a character with this level of strength that Harold believes the next generation will be safe in the hands of. I love this, man. And again, you know, I've talked already a little bit about Ragnar. Again, I love the design with the squirrel. I love the cinematic look of some of the panels. I also just really think that action sequence on page 12 and on page 13 of where Harold says, "So you ate it," and we get the first person perspective POV of Harold swinging his axe, asking Loki to show him the power, and we're not seeing any of it. I think he's doing a great job of showcasing Loki, is clearly attacking with his claws, right? You see like the motion lines coming off his claws diagonally one way or the other in some of those panels. You see that great shadow panel on the bottom of page 13, where again, you can't really even make out what he is, whether he's a Fenrir, which I think would be really cool. I would love for him to be some type of like Fenrir, dealy wolf mythical creature thing. I don't know, the idea of like a super strong, super scary looking wolf just seems like to make sense with what we know about Loki. You know? I feel like the idea of like hybrid form Loki being essentially a werewolf with his little helmet with the horns on it and everything, I just think he would look incredibly cool. And again, just wolves in general. You see in other media, people are going to make fun of me for saying this, but like, you know what the definition of cool was when I was a kid? Star Wolf. In the Star Fox games. I saw Wolf O'Donnell in the Star Fox games and I was like, that is a cool guy right there. Even Wolf, when he was added to Smash Brothers back in Brawl all those years ago, with the cool, visceral kind of claw attacks that he has versus Fox, who stands over on the side and shoots his blaster and goes, "Yeah, blaster, shine, whatever. Okay, let's go, fire." Fox is over there being kind of goofy, and Wolf just says, "Roar." Oh! Yeah, and Loki, as my chat is bringing up as well, is a bit of a lone wolf, right? So again, it makes sense with his character to have some type of theming there. But again, even though I think that's what it is, even though I think it's going to be some type of Fenrir devil fruit, that is giving me pause. The silhouette on 13 is giving me pause because of the neck. Because again, you see the claws holding on to Harold's head on the panel on the bottom of page 13. And you see what I'm assuming is the outline of his helmet sticking out. But the head itself has a very weird look to it. It has like a sleek look to it. It almost looks like, if any of you play Monster Hunter Wilds, the Mitsutsune, like the water dragon in Monster Hunter Wilds, the look of the neck and the look of the face, like the shape of the face and the silhouette, kind of reminds me of that a little bit too. But then again, maybe it's not a wolf. Maybe it's some type of dragon, Oda has already been said, we look at Kaido, strongest beast alive on land, on sea, on in the air, always bet on Kaido. The epitome of Kaido, the epitome of power for Oda, the epitome of cool for Oda, the epitome of strength for Oda, for a long time was a dragon, right? So if he wants to make another character that rivals that type of strength, I could see him doing dragon again. Like having multiple, because again, technically, Kaido's devil fruit was the fish fruit. It was a mythical model of the fish fruit. We could still totally have just a straight up dragon fruit. We could even have like a dragon fruit of dragons from different types of mythology. Like, I'm going to do a quick Google search right now. I'm going to type in Norse dragon. Here we go. Germanic dragon. Nidhogg. There you go. Or Jormungandr, which is the giant world serpent. Jormungandr or Nidhogg could be, or it says here, there's also a treasure hoarding dwarf dragon named Fafnir. So this could be a Fafnir fruit, this could be a Nidhogg fruit, this could be a Jormungandr fruit, this could be a Fenrir fruit. This could be, if we're seeing him condensing all this Norse mythology with Ratatoskr and with Ragnar, this could be Oda just being like, we're giving him the Norse fruit. Where you just turn into every Norse creature imaginable, and it's the mythical god fruit because you could turn into all of them. Combine all the dragons, make a cool thing. I'd be fine with that. Wow. Yeah, overall, I love what he's doing with showing, but not fully showing Loki's fruit just yet. I think he does a really good job of, again, clarifying for us this is a very strong, mythical, animalistic type fruit, while at the same time not fully revealing what it is yet, because he knows when we fully see it, it's going to be awesome. My guess, just based on this panel, is that we're probably going to see the unsilhouetted version of his fruit once we hit present day again. Because I can't imagine we're in this flashback for much longer. I think if we're going on break next week, and then we have one more chapter, potentially in the month of January, if there is another break after the next one, my assumption would be that that would be taking us out of the flashback. Right? Because realistically, other than the stuff with Lola and Loki and a couple other things with like Shanks and quote unquote tying Loki on the tree where they battled before, we need to know what happened there. I think we have to see the fallout of what happened here with Harold, seeing the rivalry real time with Shanks and Loki, and potentially seeing the stuff with Lola and Big Mom. And then leading to where we are now, him ransacking villages and stuff, being tied up against a tree, getting to Elbaf, probably seeing who exactly Mosa is. We could assume it's Shirahoshi. We don't know just yet. But assuming it is Shirahoshi, we might end up seeing that during that one. And then that'll be that. Right? And then that'll take us to where we are now. And I'm seeing somebody in my chat asking, where do you think Ragnar is present day? Correct me if I'm wrong. I believe Ragnar was behind Loki on the tree, right? Wasn't Ragnar behind him on the tree? Wasn't he sitting in front of it? So my assumption is when we see Loki going, all out against the emu characters, we're going to see Ragnar again. Yeah, he used it. That's what I thought. I was going to say, I thought he did use it. Yeah. So again, we're going to see Ragnar. I do wonder if in real time, present day, Ragnar transforms into the squirrel form, which I think could make for a really funny gag with Luffy. It's about to be an Usopp satchel. That would also be super funny as well. If somehow, some way, this little squirrel deems Usopp worthy of wielding Ragnar, and we get a situation like Avengers Endgame where Loki chucks Ragnar over at Usopp, and then maybe there's something going on with Ragnar where he's able to like shift his weight, and he only is like the weight of a squirrel, but he's able to pick it up. That would be, actually, as I'm saying that out loud, that would maybe be how they get around Usopp being able to wield this massive hammer, right? If maybe it's just the weight of a squirrel, it doesn't actually weigh the same as a hammer if you're deemed worthy. Maybe he's just able to pick it up, and I guess it's a huge squirrel though. Like as I'm talking this out, it is a massive squirrel. But Usopp put on some muscle during the time skip. Usopp, I feel like of all the feats in the series, if Zoro's fighting the Grim Reaper and Sanji's lighting his legs on fire and Luffy's able to utilize god powers, at the very least, Usopp should be able to lift a giant squirrel. I mean, what was all this training with Heracles meant to be, if not for this very moment, to lift up a giant squirrel, turn him into a hammer, and slam attacks throughout the course of the climax of Elbaf? Who knows? I do really love this. I love the squirrel. I think the design is super cute. But I do see potential there for the hammer to be passed around, again, a la like Avengers Endgame with, Thor and Captain America, where they were, swinging the hammers at different times. Maybe we're going to get a situation where Loki goes, full mythical devil fruit. The hammer finds the hammer gets knocked out of his hands. Usopp discovers it. Maybe when the hammer gets knocked out of his hands, he goes into squirrel form. And then Usopp runs over to the squirrel and takes care of him. And the squirrel's like, you're a good dude. By the way, you don't even know who I am. I'm the legendary Ragnar. Usopp has a giant fanboy moment, picks up the hammer, shows up. That would be cool. Again, there's potential here, making this hammer a cute little creature for this to somehow, some way be tied with Usopp. Because there's too much stuff in the story with like imagery of Usopp with the hammer, whether he was using hammers to fix the Mary back when, whether it's the 100-ton hammer that he used against Perona. There's just too many images that we've seen of Usopp utilizing a hammer for us to think that this isn't going to go anywhere with Usopp. I think that's my big prediction coming off of this. I think the clarification that Ragnar is but a cute little squirrel means that at some point Usopp is going to make good with this squirrel, and we're going to see him utilizing Ragnar in some way. I also see my live chat responding to what I said earlier with Usopp picking up Ragnar and then looking at him on the other panel going, I knew it. Again, it could make for some good moments. But we obviously have to see Loki utilizing him first before we see Usopp do anything with him. But overall, man, this is a great chapter. This is a really, really good one. Huge bummer that we're not able to be live on YouTube today for this one. I feel like we probably would have had a really big audience and a lot of people would have been showing up and talking about how hyped this chapter is. Unfortunately, it is what it is. Just comes with the territory. As I mentioned earlier, I got locked out of my YouTube channel for the time being until I get my phone fixed. So hopefully we're back by the next chapter. Again, next week there will not be a chapter of One Piece. We are going on break. So hopefully after that, will be good, and I'll be able to upload everything properly. But again, as a reminder to all of you watching live on Twitch right now, you can follow me on all the podcast platforms, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Audible, everything. And you're able to catch this live afterwards. And for today's stream specifically, if you still want to watch on YouTube, it will be uploaded to my Vault channel right after this. And you guys will be able to find the chapter. And then once I get access to my channel again, I'll throw that video on the playlist along with all the other episodes of One Piece with RogersBase. But I think we're good. Now, with that being said, I have an idea of what the thumbnail is going to be this week that James is cooking up. Massive shout out, once again, as always, to my thumbnail artist, James, at KantaroPJJ, over on Instagram, over on Twitter. Let us see what he did for the thumbnail. So if you allow me to pull this up, let me see what he sent me. I have to guess the thumbnail this week has something to do with Ragnar. Oh, there you go. I was like, there's no way. Here we go. I was like, there is no way that you introduce this cute little squirrel character and you don't take advantage of it for the thumbnail. That is adorable. I'm actually surprised, though. Again, for those of you that are listening to the audio-only version of the podcast, James, instead of drawing the squirrel like a light brown, chose to draw the squirrel like gray with dark gray. And I actually think looking at it like this makes more sense if he's meant to be a hammer. Then he would have more hammer-like colors. I love this, though. For those of you, again, that are audio-only listeners, what James did for the thumbnail this week is you've got a sullen-looking, resigned Loki with squirrel form Ragnar on his shoulder, hugging one of his little ponytails. How adorable. With little hearts coming out of his head. That is so unbelievably cute. Wow, again, that was not the color I was expecting for the squirrel, but I do think he made the right choice with this. I think he made the right choice with the colorization, making him gray. But again, he could totally be wrong. We could be wrong. Maybe he's not going to end up being, light brown. Maybe he's not going to end up being light gray. This is Oda we're talking about. Maybe he's going to be like bright yellow or bright orange or something. And he's going to have some weird color scheme once we end up seeing him. Maybe, as Raph Revenge is saying in my chat, we're going to see Ragnar and he's going to have Pikachu colors. Maybe he's going to be yellow with brown streaks. Maybe. I think Oda likes Pokemon. I think Oda's gone on the record saying that he loves playing Pokemon Go. So that wouldn't surprise me if he ended up going with Pokemon colors for a cute little Ragnar. Maybe he'll make him... That's right. Clax brings up my chat as well. Maybe he'll go with Pachirisu colors. Maybe he'll make him bright blue and deep blue. Maybe that'll end up being the case. I do really love this this thumbnail that James did, though. Wow. I'm going to keep this on screen as I go through some of the super chats and as I go through... I guess we don't have super chats this week because we're not on YouTube, but we still have some donations and we have some memberships that I want to shout out. So let me give a quick shout out to these. Let me boost open my Streamlabs and log on in so I can see what's going on here. All right, here we go. Redirecting... dashboard, and let's see what people were saying about this chapter. I'm just excited to talk to the chat today and see what's going on with everybody. So first and foremost, wow, I have to give a massive, massive shout out once again to Silva Nomer, coming through with 25 gift subs over the course of this live stream. Thank you very much, Silva Nomer. Nakama. Appreciate that. We also got resubscriptions from Blackbeard's intern, Nintendon, who resubscribed for 83 months in a row, saying, woohoo, substreak still going. Aeronator, longtime viewer Aeronator, resubscribing for 6 months in a row with a total of 67 months. Appreciate that. Degenerate coming through with the resubscription as well. Clax gifting a sub to my man Maxim. Thank you very much. Redcoat Brigade gifting a sub to Raiden Kaji. Thank you very, very, very much to all of you who came through during the live chat today. Now, let me scroll on up and see some of these cheers. And let's see what people are talking about. Now, first and foremost, we got one from 99 Shab, who says, Roger, how old do you think the hammer is, and what do you think it knows? You know, that's actually a really good question. I didn't consider the age of the squirrel, despite the fact that he mentioned it's been around for centuries. We have to assume centuries, right? He said that's got to be plural. It's got to be at least 200 years old, right? Where does that take us within the story? Do I think the squirrel could be from the Void Century? I don't know. I know obviously giants have a longer lifespan. I'm assuming that goes the same for giant animals as well. If we've got a giant squirrel, what is the average lifespan of a squirrel? Let me Google search this. Squirrel lifespan. Squirrels generally live from 5 to 10 years in the wild, but in safe captivity can live sometimes from 10 to 20 years or more, with some records showing over 20 years. Okay. Well then, I mean, let's take 20, times it by 10. That gets us to 200, which is multiple centuries. I also don't think, though, it's out of the realm of possibility that this squirrel is somehow, some way, one of those, long time alive Void Century animals that somehow knows about things dating back to when the mural was first made. Right? Because again, the mural is clearly building up the mythology of Elbaf and the greater overall story of where the story at large is going to take us. And I'm assuming that mural he was around for. Harold is 144 years old, and several have challenged Ragnar in that time. So again, he's got to be older than 144. And as Bored Individual brings up my chat as well, there are some humans that can live abnormally longer lives, so I don't see why animals wouldn't follow the same rules as well. I do think that it's from the time from when the ancient kingdom could infuse devil fruits, is what Tyson of Time says in my chat. I agree with that. Maybe he was one of the first fully infused weapons. That would be neat. Now, the question is, and I want to pose this to my chat, is this a situation in which Ragnar is a squirrel, a giant squirrel within Elbaf, who ate the hammer fruit, the legendary Ragnar hammer fruit, or was he a hammer that was fed a squirrel fruit, like the legendary Ratatasker squirrel fruit? Because I think it's a squirrel first. And my assumption for this is based on everything else that happens whenever we see hybrid form characters or strong devil fruit users get knocked out of their peak forms. I'm assuming Ragnar in peak form would be a hammer, right? When he gets bonked on the head and he's all excited for Loki and you see him jumping around with the hearts in his eyes, I am assuming he got knocked back to his base form. So maybe what we're seeing here is Ratatasker, right? Maybe the actual name of Ragnar is Ratatasker, that he is the legendary giant squirrel from Norse mythology, who then ate the hammer fruit, or the legendary hammer fruit. Because I don't think we've ever had a situation, correct me if I'm wrong, chat, in which we've had a legendary weapon as the devil fruit. We've obviously had characters with like cannonball fruits, with ballistic fruits, with bomb fruits. We have even Capone Gang Beige, right, with the castle fruit. summoning armies and summoning guns and all that kind of stuff. We've seen that before. Who's to say that there's not some type of mythical fruit based on a legendary weapon? My chat seems to be split on this. Tyson at Time saying a hammer fruit wouldn't turn you into a hammer fully, though. Funkfried was the sign of a normal elephant and then the size of the sword that ate the fruit. Has there ever been a legendary paramecia in that form? Also, Ragnar was chained to the tree, right? Maybe it should have reverted to his original form, but Chopper stayed in his form in the ocean, so I don't know. Maybe they fed the ratatouille fruit to the hammer, says Sotwick. Yeah. Again, maybe it is maybe it is a hammer that was fed the legendary Ratatasker fruit and then became Ragnar. I don't know. But again, there's got to be something going on with this squirrel. The fact that this thing has been alive for centuries, despite the fact that it is a giant animal, and despite the fact there's weird things that happen with time on Elbaf that we know about, in some way, shape, or form, something about this hammer is mythical. This is not a situation of just like a normal squirrel in Elbaf eating a hammer fruit, or a regular hammer being fed a regular squirrel fruit. I'm going back and forth on what the base is. To be honest, I think in the grand scheme of things, it's not really going to matter all that much, and I feel like we're probably going to get a full explanation once we get to present day. Again, I think a lot of the things that were shadowed out in this chapter, where you get like the shadows of the mythical version of Loki, you get the hammer fight as well, coming out of that, but not getting any Oda boxes. I think it was deliberate that we didn't see like any real dialogue between Ragnar and Loki in that panel on page 12 and 13 before he picks up that devil fruit. The fact that we just got little glimpses of that in silhouette says to me we're probably going to get proper Oda boxes for these devil fruit powers once we're back in present day fighting Emu's minions. That's my guess. Yeah. Overall, though, super excited for whatever the option is. And thank you once again for your question, 99 Shab. We also have a follow-up question to that from Aquatic Owl 23 in the live chat, who says, so Vegapunk made it so objects could eat fruits, right? Does that mean that this is a squirrel that ate the hammer fruit and not the other way around? Oh, so you were just bringing up once again what we talked about earlier, just positing the question, what came first, the hammer or the squirrel? I'm really not entirely sure. I don't know. Rob Harley cheered with 500 bits over on Twitch and said, wow, what a chapter this week. I absolutely loved the art on pages 12 and 13 and the art on 16 and 17. And honestly, 16 and 17 remind me of Bleach with how well Oda used black and white space like Kubo often does. And now I know what you're talking about, Rob, because as many of you know, if you don't already know, if you're not a member, over on the YouTube channel, I have been regularly doing a Bleach read-through, reading the Bleach manga for the very first time. We are currently in the 200s. We are in the middle of the Arrancar arc right now. Things are getting very good. Lots of characters have been introduced. Lots of great fights happen. Lots of great characters have been introduced as well. So make sure to check out my Bleach read-throughs over on my YouTube channel. And again, those are public for everybody when we do them. I usually make announcements over on Discord or on the subreddit, which is on r/RogersBase. If you're not already following there, I'm putting up schedules on the subreddit as well, so you can check out all that stuff over there. Make sure you don't miss any streams. And again, make sure to tune in for those, because even though they go members only after they're live, while they're live, they're available for everyone. So stop by. They've been a great time. Rob continues, saying, also, the blood of the Supreme King is an interesting way to word it. Is it just that Harold's wording is different in Elbaf, or does it actually mean something different, or is the blood related to hockey? I actually think, and it's interesting that this got brought up here, because I meant to talk about this and do a video on this literally years ago, and never had the opportunity to do it. And that is on the lineage factor, right? On DNA and blood and the lineage factor and all the stuff that the Vinsmoke family was experimenting on. Is there a way that you can replicate a strong user's hockey through the blood of their offspring? Is there a way to do that? Can you manipulate DNA? Can you manipulate genes using that lineage factor in One Piece to make it so hockey gets carried down through the generation's blood? Because if that's the case, that could be crazy in terms of implications for the rest of the series. Or even just Loki in general, right? That Loki seemingly is stronger even in his form before he got the mythical devil fruit. He's seemingly stronger than Harold ever was, right? Like, he was able to do in 4 panels what Harold and many other kings of Elbaf tried to do over the course of centuries. That, I think, could also seemingly explain those hockey knots that we saw at the end of Egghead Island with the robot, opening up, Emmett's, right? Emmett opening up the robot, the robot, opening up the rope, and the rope emanating the Conqueror's hockey. Maybe there's something in which, like, Joy Boy infused via his blood his hockey into the rope, so it's actually, like, from the body of Joy Boy, which also is interesting when you think of, like, the religious connotations and you think about religion in One Piece in general. And, like, when you go to church and you drink the wine and it's like the blood of Christ, if it's like the blood of Nika being passed through hockey, I don't know. There's just a lot of weird stuff with the implication that there's the blood of the Supreme King is the thing that gets passed down. But then that also explains a lot of the stuff with, like, the D families, right? With, like, I'm assuming Dragon's going to have Conqueror's hockey, right? Garp definitely has it. Luffy definitely has it. It passes through the blood. I don't know. I do really wonder if there's a bigger connection there, or if it is just his weird wording within Elbaf. I am inclined to say I think it actually has something to do with lineage factor, is my guess. We have Izwiz bringing this up in the chat, though, saying, did Harold want the fruit, though, at the end? Maybe he was crashing out when he was younger, but Bald Harold was definitely all about peace, so maybe he didn't try to get Ragnar. I mean, that's also true as well. Talking back with what we were talking about regarding generations of giant warriors in Elbaf trying to take the fruit from Ragnar, none being deemed worthy. Also, Shab said the Supreme King's hockey being in the blood hits different when you look back to Luffy using his blood to beat Crocodile as well. Interesting. That also explains why animals like Chopper don't seem to have hockey. Have we ever seen a animal fruit user utilize hockey? I don't think we have. We've seen the minks, and we've seen, obviously, the minks utilizing Sulong, but I don't think we have seen a animal eating a mythical fruit utilizing hockey. Yamato, no, but Yamato is a human, or, obviously descended from Kaido or whatever, that utilizes a animal fruit, a legendary animal fruit. Yamato wasn't a base animal. Yeah. Marco, same thing. Marco is a human who then ate a phoenix fruit. But Marco wasn't born a phoenix. You know what I mean? Or like Kaido, same thing, right? Kaido was a creature that then ate a fish fruit. I'm talking something that is like Chopper. Chopper, base form, is a reindeer. Much like how Ragnar, we're assuming, base form could be a squirrel, right? But then again, maybe that lends credence to the fact that Ragnar is originally a hammer that then got fed a legendary squirrel fruit. Because Ragnar's obviously utilizing hockey and is able to be a stopgap for Loki. I don't know. Again, the blood of the Supreme King thing, I think, is fascinating when you think of what this could mean for the story overall. Yeah. I really want to see, I want to see more questions brought up about that. I want to see more answers, listed in chapters regarding that. I'm very excited to find out more about the Supreme King thing. I think that was great. And I'm happy that you brought that up in your super chat. Greatly appreciate that, Rob. Thank you very much, as always, for being here and just being, a longtime viewer. Greatly appreciate that. I see another one from Clax, but I'm not able to read it. You could also hear Obi going crazy in the background. Clax mentioned, saying, I like how Oda condensed the Norse mythology as well, bringing up what I was talking about earlier regarding, different myths somewhat being infused to different powers. Clax says here, I like how he condensed Norse mythology. Loki is essentially both Thor and Loki, with Ragnar also being Ratatoskr. Loki being able to utilize the lightning of Thor, Loki wielding the hammer, Ragnar being Ratatoskr, being a squirrel, and Mjolnir having the abilities. Totally agree. And again, I think we're going to see more of that. Again, as I brought up during my review portion, I could see a situation in which his mythical god fruit, right, the legendary fruit of Elbaf, is a mix of a bunch of the different legends, right? That it is maybe a mix of like the world serpent legend mixed with the Nidhogg legend, mixed even with Fenrir. I think the Fenrir thing makes the most sense to me because of what we've seen with the claws. And I also think thematically it would make sense to have Fenrir because of the two wolves that control the sun and the moon in Norse mythology. Like, because so much of this flashback, so much of the stuff that we've dealt with Loki has been in regards to his brothership with Harudin. Even dating back to before when we entered this flashback, right? Where Harudin and him were saying, you got 3 minutes, tell me the story. You know, before we went into all this. Harudin and him having that rivalry when they were kids. Them sharing the mother, right? Sharing Ida. That Loki sees Ida as his true mom. That his mother that threw him off the cliff had nothing to do with him. It's found family. There's just a lot of theming with brothers. And I think the idea of having some type of like wolf devil fruit be somehow integrated in that would make a lot of sense to me. I think it definitely connects. Yeah. I also think if it is Fenrir, because I have to look this up. Aren't there two wolves? Both of the wolves together are not called Fenrir, right? It's like Fenrir and then there's another one. Fenrir brother name. I'm going to look this up. Fenrir's brother's name. Oh no, Fenrir, the monstrous wolf in Norse mythology, has two siblings. Jormungandr the serpent and his goddess sister Hel. Okay, so, this changes things now. Wait a minute. So, in Norse mythology, if I'm understanding this correctly, the serpent is the brother of the wolf. Let me posit an idea. Let me throw an idea out there at you guys, right? When we first met Harudin, all the way back in Dressrosa, when we first met him, he was searching for a devil fruit that could help him get on the throne of Elbaf, right? So he could rule Elbaf, that could take on his brother. The devil fruit he was searching for was a fire devil fruit. The Mara no Mi, that was what was contested during Dressrosa. We brought up the idea early in Elbaf that if Loki believed the legendary fruit of Elbaf to be a sun god fruit, that somehow, some way, that fruit would utilize fire powers. Now what we're seeing, I don't think that's what we're looking at all. Now it seems like this is some type of mythical Norse being. I think it would be super cool if over the course, because we know Harudin doesn't have a devil fruit, because he was looking for the devil fruit in Dressrosa, I think it would be really cool to further solidify that kinship between Loki and Harudin, for Harudin to get a boost and to have another devil fruit. For them somehow, some way to discover via the library, the owl school, whatever, that there is another legendary devil fruit within Elbaf. And that Harudin eats it, and then you've got the serpent and the wolf. And you've got both of them fighting together. That could be very, very cool. Also, it's brought up in Norse mythology that Fenrir is the son of Loki. So it wouldn't maybe necessarily be that. Maybe it would be Jormungandr. I think there is potential with him not having eaten a devil fruit already for him to get a devil fruit. I'm not talking about Loki, I'm talking about Harudin. As a means to power him up. Because realistically, when you're looking at the characters that are there, that group of Ragnar, Loki, Luffy, Zoro, Sanji, and Harudin, the weak link of all those characters would be Harudin, right? I mean, Luffy, pre-Gear 4, managed to one-shot Harudin with like a single Gear 3 attack. And I don't think Harudin has been, training that much off screen. Then again, we know with all the stuff with the bounty hikes for Dorian Bragi and Oimo and Kashi and all these other characters in Elbaf, we know that there's sort of just been this invisible power jump with the giants. And I guess you could argue that Luffy's the main character, so Luffy was able to do that easily, take him out with a single Gear 3. But still in all, if Harudin is meant to compete alongside Zoro, Sanji, Luffy, Loki, and Ragnar, he needs to have some type of power boost going into that final fight. So, yeah, I don't know. We'll see. But I'm not going to write off the idea that maybe Harudin is going to get a devil fruit at some point that is related to the brothership between Fenrir and Jormungandr. But again, we're still going to have to wait to the next chapter to find out exactly what the devil fruit is of Loki's, whether it is a Jormungandr fruit or a Fenrir fruit or a Nidhogg fruit or whatever. And I'm assuming, again, we're probably not going to get that officially Oda-boxed until we get to present day once more. But we'll see. Also, let me refresh your memory. Haruden was not one-shot by Gear 3. He was one-shot by Gear 2? Oh, you're right. Oh, my goodness. I think you're right. Was it a Gear 2 attack? Oh, my goodness. Yeah, Haruden. Haruden's got to step it up then. Haruden's got to step it up. We've got to see some type of power jump from him if he's going to be doing anything at the end of Elbaf during this climax. Man, oh, man, oh, man. Let's see. I believe since this one... Oh, no, hold on. I got another cheer. Sylvanomer came through and said, want to see my Bankai, 25 gift subs. So that was a message that Clax said via a cheer when Sylvanomer dropped all those gift subs. Greatly appreciate that, Clax. Thank you. Appreciate that. I'm not seeing any other cheers, but that is fine because we've already gone a solid hour, which is good. We've already covered the chapter. We saw the thumbnail. And, you know, all things considered, despite the fact that I wasn't able to log into the YouTube channel today to do the live reaction, we still got a solid hour out of it. And despite the fact that this chapter has kind of been out for the greater internet for like a week and a half already. You know, people have already seen this chapter. Thankfully, the only thing I got spoiled on in this chapter was that there was going to be some type of squirrel character. But otherwise, I mean, I think this is a really, really solid one. So I want to say once again, thank you very much to everyone who was here live, who watched live on Twitch this week. Again, with the next chapter, we'll be back as usual on YouTube. I'm certainly not going to be without my YouTube channel for 2 weeks. Absolute worst case scenario, it's going to be a week for them to repair my phone. And if it's any longer than a week, I'll contact Andrew. I'll get my, YouTube partners in there. I'll make sure that I'm able to log in on the back end, put in some new YubiKeys, make sure this doesn't happen again, make sure I'm logged in on my iPad, on my laptop and everything. I have my iPad literally over here. And I was seemingly logged in, but then it logged me out when I logged back into the LA computer. So it is what it is. Regardless, thank you, by the way. Clax coming through with subscription right at the very ending, right before I'm wrapping up, saying, I think Haruden is likely Jormungandr, and Loki is likely Fenrir in this situation. Jormungandr bites its own tail, symbolizing Ouroboros, which is immortality, which I think would probably be what Oda would go with to be the flashback to Loki's past again. Interesting. It's a good thing to bring up, Clax. I appreciate that. Thank you. I may have sent the sub message too late. No, you're good. You did it right in time. I was just giving my final thoughts. Yeah, overall final thoughts in this chapter. I think it was absolutely excellent, very cinematic. Excited to see what they're going to do with the next chapter. Again, there will not be a chapter next week. We are going on break, but there will be a chapter the week after that. And by then, again, I will certainly have my YouTube channel back and we'll be live as usual. Again, if you want to watch this live reaction on YouTube, you can go follow the RogersBase Vault channel. That is my secondary channel for whenever things happen like this when I get locked out of my main channel. I'll be uploading the video version of the podcast there. You'll also be able to listen to the audio version of today's podcast on every podcast platform. That's Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Audible, iHeartRadio, everywhere. You can find me there. And again, if you want to be updated on my schedule, see what's going on with the hacks, see what's going on with everything else, you can make sure to follow the subreddit, which is recently relaunched. That is r/RogersBase. Or join the Discord server. There are special rooms available for people who are subs over on Twitch and members over on YouTube. I am planning a lot of really fun community events this year. The top 100 video games of all time stream, the member reverie. We've got the main reverie coming up a little bit later this year. I'm bringing back Manga of the Year. I have a lot of really fun plans for 2026. So if you like my content and you want to support my channel, the best way to do that is to become a member over on the YouTube channel. That grants you access to all my stream VODs, grants you access to all these live streams, all the live chats when we have to put the chats members only, so I don't end up getting spoiled on stuff. And yeah, overall, it's a great time. So go follow the VOD channel for the video version. Make sure to go leave your 5-star reviews and leave your follows on whatever podcast platform you follow. And I'll be back in 2 weeks with my live reaction to 1171. Once again, thank you for coming through to the stream today. Like, comment, subscribe, and until next time, I'll talk to you guys later. Nakama!